Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We welcome you all back to our show. Also, it's tuning in to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome best-selling author Miasha to our program today. She's someone who's been able to do what she loves when it comes to books and have a readership all over the world, but also is the executive producer of a film that a lot of people were talking about at the end of last year going into this year, and that being Secret Society. We're going to talk to Miasha not only about the success she's been able to have, but also she's expecting something very good this year as well with a new film. We'll let you guys know how to stay connected with the updates for that too. Miasha, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Miasha, look, as we are celebrating Women's History Month this month, I mean, you definitely are a perfect guest to have on for this. I want to begin there. I mean, you've been able to do so much in your extraordinary journey with books and now film. What has it been like for you to think about your own history that you've been able to make?
You know what? It's still surreal. I've come from very, very humble beginnings, and to see what I've been able to achieve and to be able to just literally live my dreams, it's a blessing. I really don't have the words to describe the feeling of looking back and seeing everything that I've done over the course of my life, and particularly when it comes to achieving all of those dreams that I had since I was a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of those dreams, Miasha, I saw in an interview you did last year something that I thought was really interesting. You talked about in that interview that in high school that you had two things you wanted to be able to do. You wanted to do film and you wanted to write. And here you are now being able to do both of those things. Do you still have those wow moments when you think about the success you've been able to have with both careers?
I do, because even when, you say things when you're young, that this is what you want to do, this is your dream, this is your goal, and you don't really a lot of times think about them actually happening, even to the point where when I got to college, I was focused on finding a career path. And in my mind, I thought that once I graduated, I would, get a career, and when I retire, I would write my memoir, and that would be like how I become an author. I never thought that it would be my career would be being an author right out of college. And so when I see how those things happen and the way that they happen, and I know that it was God's planning for me to do these things by how, just I call it insane how they kind of came together for me in this way and how they all were over the years.
Yeah. And Miasha, it all began for a lot of individuals when it comes to knowing you with Secret Society. When you wrote that book, did you know that you had something that readers would enjoy?
I did, actually, because the test for me, when I first sat down to write the book, I didn't know exactly where I was going with it. I just knew the premise. I knew it was going to be about these two beautiful, flashy girls who use their charm and beauty to seduce men and get money from them. But the plot twist, kind of came later on as I was writing. It made me wonder what would make the men in the book take the measures that they took on a woman. And that's when the plot twist came in my mind, and I was so blown away by it. I only could imagine what other people would think when they got to that point in the book. And then I had my husband, who's not a big reader when it comes to, like, fiction books. He was more into self-help and things like that. But I had him reading, and he was reading the book, the manuscript, rather, before, the publishing came along. And he was like maybe 5 pages in, and he was so critical. And I know that he was thinking, because I wrote it, that this was how I felt about men and, getting money and stuff like that. So he was critical from, the point of view, right? But then as soon as he got to the plot twist, it was crickets. Like, he was quiet and he read the whole book in one sitting and could not put it down. And for me, that was a big statement because, like I said, he's not an avid reader. So I knew if he was hooked, I knew that I would get the mass majority of people to be hooked on that book.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened, and now here we are. But not only the book in the series having the success it's been able to have, but also now the film Secret Society, starring one of our friends, actually, Miasha, Trey Chaney. And I remember that's how I initially found out about the film was Trey. He was posting about it, and then of course that led me over to Amazon as well. So I want to talk about that because you not only, of course, had this book. I mean, they got all this attention. Then you're the executive producer, of this film. Talk to us about that. What was it like for you to have gone from writing these characters, Miasha, to be able to then to bringing these characters to life?
Oh my goodness, it was amazing, and it was definitely a long time coming because the book was published in 2006, and I think every author can kind of attest to this. We always dream of seeing our books turned into movies or TV shows. We always dream of seeing our name on the big screen from, having a book. So I always wanted to see Secret Society as a movie. And I actually reached out to different people over the years from, starting in like 2015 when I first decided I wanted to really go forward with turning my books into movies. I reached out to different people in the industry to see about, collaborations or investments or just guidance because I was totally unaware of what it took a movie. So I was getting different responses from different people that would cause me to, be discouraged a little bit. Either they would say my script was too ambitious. I needed millions of dollars to make the movie. So I put it on the back burner. My husband and I started a business, and then we just threw ourselves into that for a number of years. And it just so happened in 2019, towards the end of the year, I saw a post on Instagram from the director, Jamal Hill, and he said that he wanted to make 4 movies the next year in 2020. And I just shot my shot. I commented we should do one together. And he actually reached back out with who you have in mind, and I sent him Secret Society. And he was like, I love this story. I need to be a part of this. So getting the green light from him, someone who had he had directed some really major movies, and he knew how to get a movie done. So having the green light from someone like him, and then on top of that, in our discussions, he never once mentioned the budget or the script being too ambitious. And I just felt like if he believes in this project the way that I do and feel like we can get it done on whatever budget I come to the table with, then I knew this was the person I needed to be doing this with. And that just proved to be true with how we were able to shoot it in 15 days in the height of COVID, turn it out within a year, get it on Amazon Prime, and it reaching top 3 in its first month. It was just insane.
Yeah. And I think, too, again, going to when I was prepping for the segment with you, Miasha, I thought about, I don't think people who have followed your career were surprised about that part. I think, though, what you have been able to do is that you've been able to show people not to be afraid of the work. I mean, you are someone, you're not just talented, you're someone who is not afraid of the work. And that's something that's shown itself throughout your career. How much do you think that helped you in preparing for what happened last year? Because, I mean, to me, when I saw Secret Society being on Prime, I thought to myself, you know what, that's what the payoff is like. If you don't give up, that's what the payoff is like. Is that what it felt like for you?
Absolutely. And it also just showed me that God's timing is better than your own. A lot of times we think that, we need to have something done then and there, here and now. And if it doesn't happen that way, we tend to give up and feel like, okay, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But the patience is the part, because things are happening in your life to prepare you for the moment that you're asking for. So that phrase, trust the process, that is like, that's true. And it might sound cliche, but that is what you have to do. You have to trust the process. And I'm glad that I did that, and I'm glad that I didn't give up, because seeing the movie, and of course I've seen it a million times in different forms at different stages, but I still, to this day, when I watch it, I still get teary-eyed, because I see what it turns out to be, and it was so much grander and so much more beautiful and so much more compelling than I thought that it could be. And if I had have rushed and did it all those years ago when I was really like thinking that was supposed to be done, it would not have come out this way at all.
Yeah. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome best-selling author Miasha to our program today, also the executive producer of the film Secret Society. She's gearing up for more Secret Society this year. We're talking with her about the journey, what it's been like for her to look at her success, but also what it took to get here. And now, of course, the other thing you're celebrating this year, Miasha, is the re-release of Secret Society. All We Have Is Us, and, of course, they're right on the cover. I know, because I have the paperback edition. Is now a major motion picture. I mean,
yes.
What was that like for you? I mean, of course, you've held your book, you've seen the film. What was it like for you to hold the book with that cover?
I'm still just hearing you say it, and I'm visualizing it. It's just mind blowing, because if you know my story, and for those who don't, I'm going to give a brief recap, because it's very possible that I would not have Society, even though I wrote it. When I first got an offer from a publisher, it was an urban literature publisher that was really big back in 2005, 2004, and I got my offer then. This particular person wanted to buy Secret Society outright and then sign me to a 5-book deal. And I was excited about that, because this was somebody I felt like she was an idol as far as I was concerned, because in the urban lit world, she was the only publisher that was doing it and doing it big. So for me to get not only her interest, but also an offer to sign with her, to me, that was a dream come true. So I was kind of, teetering with the idea of going ahead and selling Secret Society outright to her, just to be able to be signed under her, and then I felt like I could recoup whatever from those other books to come. But just think, if I had done that, to this day, Secret Society, it wouldn't have nothing to do with me at this moment. It would say Secret Society by such and such. You know what I'm saying? And so, as a re-release all these years later, and to see that it, re-released from a film, is just so rewarding, and just a blessing that I retained ownership and was able to do what I did on my own independently.
And thank you for sharing that, Miasha. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about that or not, but I think that in itself does say a whole lot. But I think it also goes back to something that you said, and that was about God's timing, right? I mean, and I think if people really think about that, because it's so easy for us to just do something, thinking, this is the right thing, and for you to be able to have done what you've done the way you did it really does, I think, speak volumes. I want to mention something else, though, about unintended consequences, because, and I know this has happened to me as someone who's seen a film that I didn't realize there was a movie, which then I end up going back and reading the book. I saw people on Twitter saying, okay, now I got to go and read the book after I've seen the film.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you to have this crossover audience of people who had not read the book before? Now that they've seen Secret Society, the film, now they're going back and becoming fans of your books.
Yeah, that's just awesome, because the real thing for me is the fact that the subject matter in Secret Society is more relevant today than it was in 2006 when the book originally was published. And that just, shows a lot of people that knew that journey then are like, you were ahead of your time. And now for 15 plus years later, a whole brand new audience of people getting to enjoy Secret Society as if it first came out, those years ago. It just makes me realize that, to create this story, the story is more important than me. It's more important than my success or my career as an author. It was the story that needed to be told, needed to be heard, it needed to be felt.
Yeah. And now here we are. So I have to ask you about this. I know as an author, when you have success with one book, you have readers who will say, wow, that was great. When's the next one coming out? You've answered that question now with the second chapter of Secret Society, the film. Did this one feel different for you, or were you just as excited about bringing this one to life as your audience was for being able to see it?
Okay, let me just say this. When we shot Secret Society 1, and when I say we, I'm talking about my husband and I. We're business partners in everything that we do. And our plan was never to shoot a part 2. Even though it ends the way it ends, which is like the book, we just thought people would, use their imaginations and come up with whatever they decided for those 2 characters at the end. But the demand was so high for a part 2 that we were like, it's no way we can't not do a part 2. So when I sat down to create the script, it was a dilemma for me because and I don't know if you know this, but Secret Society itself is a trilogy. So there is a part 2 and a part 3 in the book form. However, in the film form, I could not recreate those books in film. It's just a lot. It's a whole lot that happens in those books. So I had to ask myself, how do I give the fans a continuation that they'll appreciate and enjoy after what we did with part 1? I feel like we set the bar really high, and I just didn't know how to top that in a film.
Yeah.
So it was a little nerve-wracking. I was afraid to even dive into, a script version of part 2. But I feel like now that it's done, we've shot it, and we're actually in editing. When I get off this call, I'm going right over to an editing session. And I'm seeing the footage, and I'm seeing the way it's coming out, and I'm super, super excited. And I can't wait for the fans to see the evolution that occurs with these characters.
Love it. Well, Miasha, we're so excited to see it ourselves and so happy for you. As I said, as we are celebrating and recognizing March as Women's History Month, you are really the epitome of being able to make history and to keep making history. And I think your journey says so much. Make sure you guys do check out Miasha. You can find her, of course, on Amazon with her books, as well as the first chapter of Secret Society, the film, on Prime Video. You all can check it out there. And Miasha, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Definitely follow me on Instagram, Miasha Official, MIASHA. You can also check out my website, Miasha.com. Follow Secret Society Movie on Instagram and SecretSocietyMovie.com.
All right, Miasha, continued blessings and success to you. Thank you so much again for the time, and looking forward to having you back on the program again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.